When Eli Wallach arrived in Madrid for the filming of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, all the hotels were booked solid. Not a single room was available. Rather than leave his co-star out in the cold, Clint Eastwood stepped up with a simple solution. He invited Wallach to crash at a friend's house. But there was a catch. The two Hollywood gunslingers had to share a bed for the night. Wallach's wife, Ann Jackson, later joked that he could boast about being the only man to sleep with Clint Eastwood. It's a hilarious, little-known bit of trivia that perfectly captures the camaraderie that sometimes forms on set. But that's just the beginning of the wild stories that unfolded behind the scenes of this iconic Western. Directed by the legendary Sergio Leone, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is the crown jewel of the Dollars trilogy, a cinematic masterpiece that redefined the Western genre. It starred Clint Eastwood as Blondie, the so-called man with no name, a laconic, sharp-shooting drifter who finds himself locked in a tense standoff with two other outlaws. Tuco, the scrappy and unpredictable bandit played by Eli Wallach, and Angel Eyes, the ruthless mercenary portrayed by Lee Van Cleef. Together, they battle and backstab their way across the dusty American West, hunting for a fortune hidden in a cemetery. The film is famous for its breathtaking cinematography and one of the most intense three-way standoffs in cinema history. Morricone's haunting score, particularly The Ecstasy of Gold, has since become legendary, with its influence reaching far beyond the Western genre, into everything from hip-hop samples to Metallica's live concerts. But getting this iconic film to the big screen was no easy feat. Production was a wild ride, filled with language barriers, dangerous stunts, and near-death experiences. For starters, director Sergio didn't speak a word of English, and Clint Eastwood barely spoke any Italian. Communication between the two was largely done through a translator, adding an extra layer of chaos to an already challenging shoot. Eli Wallach, on the other hand, spoke French with Sergio, which helped smooth things out a bit, at least for him. Despite the language gap, Eastwood and Sergio developed a silent understanding. Eastwood once mentioned that Sergio's direction would often consist of long, sweeping hand gestures and facial expressions rather than words, a form of communication that he described as cinematic sign language. Sergio's vision for The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly was grand to say the least. He wanted the film to be a sweeping epic that captured both the brutality and beauty of the Old West. To achieve this, he went to extraordinary lengths. Sergio spent hours studying American Civil War photography and documentation to get the look and feel of the film just right. He even traveled to the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. to research troop movements, clothing, and weaponry used during the era. Though the film is not entirely historically accurate, the visual authenticity added a layer of grit that few Westerns had captured before. Sergio also brought in real Spanish Civil War veterans as extras to add authenticity to the battle scenes, lending a visceral realism to the chaos of war. Wallach had been skeptical about taking the role of Tuco at first. He was familiar with Sergio's work, but wasn't convinced that an Italian director could nail the essence of a gritty Western. That all changed when he saw just a few minutes of For a Few Dollars More, the second film in the trilogy. He stopped the screening and accepted the role on the spot. And thank goodness he did, because his portrayal of Tuco is nothing short of iconic. Yet, his experience on set was anything but smooth. Wallach survived multiple brushes with death during filming. During the sequence where Tuco cuts his handcuffs under a moving train, Sergio insisted that Wallach perform the stunt himself for authenticity. Wallach did it, lying mere inches from the train's wheels. He later discovered that a metal step jutted out from the train car, one that would have decapitated him if he had raised his head just a bit. As if that weren't enough, Wallach narrowly avoided another disaster when he accidentally drank acid on set. The crew had stored the acid in a soda bottle to use for a prop gag, but Wallach, assuming it was his favorite lemon drink, took a sip. He spat it out immediately, narrowly avoiding serious injury. Before we continue, a quick shout out to Perfect Fifth. They've got some incredible old school music inspired graphic tees like this VU meter design capturing that perfect analog vibe, or this melting vinyl sunset, a minimalist ode to the golden era of vinyl. And this Star Strings and Stripes, a rock and roll twist that's perfect for the Patriots. And for Golden Throwback viewers, they're giving you an exclusive 20% off with the code THROWBACK20. Check out the link in the description. Now, back to the video. The production was also grueling in other ways. Sergio demanded absolute historical authenticity for the film's Civil War setting, going so far as to study documents and photographs at the Library of Congress. Though not entirely accurate, his attention to detail added a layer of grit and realism to the film that set it apart from other westerns of its time. This commitment to detail even extended to the film's epic showdown in Sad Hill Cemetery, a set that the crew constructed by hand in Spain. It's hard to imagine now, but this iconic battleground was entirely fabricated for the movie. And then there's the curious case of the human skeleton that appears when Tuco digs up the wrong grave. You might assume that the filmmakers used a prop, but you'd be wrong. Leone wanted authenticity, so they used a real skeleton. And not just any skeleton. It belonged to a Madrid actress who had requested that her bones be used in films after her death. Her daughter, honored by her mother's wish, allowed it, giving the film a truly eerie touch of realism. The film wasn't just brutal on the actors, it took a toll on the crew as well. The extreme heat of the Spanish desert, combined with the demanding stunts and language barriers, made this one of the most challenging shoots of Sergio's career. But the end result was worth it. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly became a timeless classic, cementing its place in film history and launching Clint Eastwood to superstardom. And as for that sleepover in Madrid, it's a perfect reminder that behind every stone-cold stare and smoking barrel, sometimes even the roughest cowboys just need a place to crash. Wallach later joked that he would always be the only man to sleep with Clint Eastwood. Not exactly what you'd expect from two of Hollywood's toughest gunslingers, but it's proof that even legends need a little help from their friends now and then. Now it's time to hear from you. Did you know about Eastwood and Wallach's unexpected sleepover? And what's your favorite behind-the-scenes story from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more classic Hollywood tales.